you like bullets, babes, and boobs and beers, long ass mullets and Norris's beard, kicking ass and getting it done, and ending every catchphrase with a click of a gun. If you like hand grenades and ninja stars, taking out henchmen and fighting in bars, big rabbit dogs and haunted cars, we're talking about keeping life rated R. Keeping life rated R.
Hey, what's up, horror fans, horror freaks, geeks, nerds, dweebs, turds, basement dwellers, and all you mouth breathers out there? Happy Halloween. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Josh James, and with me tonight is Dave Zee. What's up, Dave Zee? How you doing?
Good. Happy Halloween indeed, and thank you for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Last time you came around was for the Ghostbusters commentary we did with Watsy, your buddy, Watson. Watsy's the show that you guys do together. So Watson and Dave Zee. Pretty cool show. Check it out on Horrorphilia. But I was going to have Matt back to do a Halloween show this October, and he's so busy I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it. And I figure why not call in a ringer just in case. And Dave was nice enough to say yes. So here you are. We're going to do Halloween 4 from 1988. And I like this one, man. What about you? What do you think of this one?
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get it.
It's a step down from the original first one or second one. But I like 4 and 5. A lot of people are on the line about 4 and 5. I mean, I think it's like 50-50 in the horror community about who likes it, who doesn't. But I can dig it. I like 4 and 5. But I guess we'll just get started and get into it. Let's not waste any time. Dave's a busy guy. So I'm going to go ahead and count it down. And we got it queued up right at 5 seconds. It should say October 30th, 1988. And if you want to watch along with us, just cue it up right there at 5 seconds. And we'll count it down in 3, 2, 1, and hit play. Better turn down the volume. All right, turn it down. I always forget some detail. All right. I do like the intro to this movie, though. Super Halloween-y.
I'll give it that, but after 1 and 2 and making a real big deal, I mean, those are epic intros in 1 and 2, and then making a big deal about bringing Michael back, the way I see it, you have the perfect opportunity to start it off with that epic Carpenter theme again, and maybe 2 jack-o'-lanterns this time and something else. I respect this for a movie, but for a return to Halloween, it's always disappointed me. I remember going to see this at the theater and hoping to get, because you have the rights to that epic intro. Nobody else can do it. It's your franchise. You have the rights to do it. Why would you not do the epic intro with the Halloween, with Carpenter's soundtrack and have it come out? And I don't know. The
only thing I could think of, dude, is that maybe they didn't want you to think this was going to be, I don't know. I mean, I guess it is kind of an immediate continuation because we're with the ambulance right after it takes off from 2. So yeah, why didn't they use the pumpkin again? You're right. That is kind of like a staple. And those are like my favorite intros to Halloween, but
right.
It is kind of nice to have just a Halloween setting. But I mean, they did. That's one of the things I like they did with the new Halloween 2018 movies. They added the pumpkin back in. With the reversal. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was smart. Yeah, they were resurrecting something that had long been. It's been long gone since 1981. You hadn't seen a cool intro like that, and they brought it back. I like that. The remake. The 2018 movie, which I enjoyed. I like it better than I like this movie. I'm not over the moon for it, but I do like that they did that. It was smart.
We went to go see Halloween, the new one. Why they called it Halloween, I don't know, but they should have given it a new subtitle or something. But and I enjoyed it in the theater. I think part of it was just like the thrill of seeing a new Halloween movie. You know, you just get excited and you're seeing stuff and not really processing, you're just watching. Man, subsequent watches after that, man, I watched that movie and it gets worse and worse, man. Like the writing is really, really bad in it. There's a couple of things that I like about the movie. They got the shape right. Really like that. The little movie within the movie in the middle when Michael finally hits the neighborhood and grabs the hammer and goes to the house. Like that scene's great.
Yes, it is.
That felt like perfect Halloween to me. Like a good return to Halloween. Everything else around it with the doctor and even some of Jamie Lee's character and I don't like it, man. Like the writing to me just seems like really dumb. But who knows, man? You know, I mean, it's hard to look at these movies objectively all these years later when you're a Halloween fan for so long. But I keep going back to it, giving it another try, and I just can't. I can't like it for whatever reason. Maybe they'll do better with the next two, but I don't get my hopes up anymore.
You know what? I liked it better than 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So I was fine with it. I wasn't expecting it to be the second coming of anything. I was just hoping for a good slasher. Yeah. And it was a good slasher for me, so I was happy. I wasn't expecting something along the lines of the original part 1 or the original part 2 at all. Not in this day and age. It's just not going to happen. So my expectations weren't. I was excited, but I wasn't like, you know, I didn't have expectations set super high. So I just
that's good.
I enjoyed the ride.
That's cool, man.
It didn't make sense to have high expectations in 2018. Just to have a good slasher at all is a treat. So, you know, that's how I looked at it. And,
it's definitely not the worst, but it's hard to when you hold it up comparing it to other Halloween movies, and a lot of them are shit. So, you know, I guess I haven't done a movie to movie comparison yet, but I'm just still, you know, kind of taking the movie in for what it is. But I'm really glad that you liked it. I mean, that says something, you know, because I know that you're a huge Halloween fan and stuff. So,
oh yeah. Again, I have to watch it again. I haven't watched it in quite a while. I own it. I've seen it maybe 3 times. So it's been a little bit though. So I'm maybe I'll watch it, you know, soon. It's been a little while, so time has, you know how it is when you don't watch something for a little while, and that'll be how I truly feel about it. I think the next view, but
yeah,
I don't hate it.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I don't know. I might end up reviewing it and really taking a really close look at it. Maybe it'll make me feel different. But Dave did a really great retrospective on all the Halloween movies up until until the one last year. You guys did that retrospective before that came out, but on BananaLaser, right? It's like 3 shows or something like that.
BananaLaser? Oh, geez, yeah, we did one show. Let me think about this. Yeah, I think it was 3 shows. Yep, yep. We did 3 shows for BananaLaser, and then last year on Exploding Heads, we did I think 2 shows. Either way,
right.
And they were, believe it or not, they were quite different. I tried to set out and make different observations about it, you know, and we had fun with it. We did good.
Yeah. Those are all really great. So if you're listening to this, you're not familiar with Dave Zee, go check out those shows. BananaLaser and Exploding Heads are over at horrorphilly.com where this show's on. So yeah, that's all really great. You want to learn some things about the Halloween franchise. Highly recommend those. But so what we're being told here is that that Michael survived the explosion and he's all burned up and they got him wrapped up in bandages. They're taking him from the hospital. I guess there was a little jump in time. So they're going from the mental institution to they're taking him to, I'm trying to remember. Are they going from a hospital to the mental hospital or from the mental hospital somewhere else or something? Yeah,
I guess after 10 years, they got to go someplace else or I don't know.
Maybe
they got to Smith's Grove.
Yeah, they're transferring him or whatever. So he escapes from the ambulance. So
now I don't get why she sees the ambulance. To me, that doesn't make sense. Why she has no knowledge of Michael Myers or anything going on? Why would she see the ambulance?
I guess they're trying to lay the groundwork that she's got some sort of psychic connection to Michael, and she gets flashes of you know, like Cookie Woman, you know, she's getting flashes of connection to events and stuff like that. So,
well, that's what's funny is a lot of people complain about part 5. They don't like the psychic connection, but the psychic connection is prevalent in this movie. And that's the first instance of it. And you see it later on because Michael should have no knowledge of her whereabouts, but the only way he would know. So, I mean, like to me, 4 and 5, there's not all that much different. I mean, I think I'm like this a little bit more, mostly because of this stuff here. Like the first like 10, 15 minutes, I quite enjoy. I really don't like the third act of the movie, and that's what really takes me out of it. But I don't see 5 as a big step down from 4. But I know a lot of people do, and I don't know.
Yeah, 5 is a little bit of a recycle version of this, you know, like I do like this one a little bit more, even though I hate the shape in this. Like, the look is bad. It's one of the worst in the whole franchise, honestly. But I almost kind of can forgive it for the fact that it's just not a terrible movie. You know, it's like I enjoy it, but you just got to figure like back in the day, they just didn't really. They just saw the mask as sort of a generic thing and didn't really put a lot of thought into the importance of the really subtle details of the look. So they just came up with some generic mask. I guess maybe it was a rights thing. That seems to be the prevalent like fan theory about why the mask.
They lost the mask. They lost the mask. They just had to do the best they could. Yeah,
but they couldn't have gone back and recreated. I mean, it must not have been impossible to get another Shatner mask, right?
You would think, you wouldn't think, but I don't know. That's something that's weird about this movie is that why? You're making a big deal about Michael coming back. Well, then, do it the right way. But at the time, I guess the Shatner masks were not available. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, because the mask in 2 was the same as the mask in 1, but it just sort of degenerated a little bit. And then I think it probably ended up in somebody's collection somewhere, in somebody's basement, or just maybe disintegrated all completely, you know? I mean, maybe they just couldn't get the mask back. But it seems like maybe the creative team behind this just didn't put a lot of thought into why the mask should look like it, or maybe it wasn't even that iconic at that point. I mean, it seems like it would be because Halloween's such a huge hit, but I think to some people, they just see a white mask. You don't see the personality in the face and, the same thing they did with the hockey mask in all the movies,
Yeah, I don't get it. And Mustafa Akkad, who produced all of them and who loves the franchise, you know what I mean? It just you would think that he would have tried harder to get the mask. Last I heard, I think Dick Warlock said he took it, but then he doesn't know where it is because he played the shape in part 2, and that's the last it's been seen. I don't know.
I could have sworn I've seen pictures of it, of that mask on the internet where it's like just totally fucked.
Yes,
falling
it did
apart.
resurface.
It's latex. Yeah, and I saw it was like behind glass, and it was really just jacked. And I don't know if they did any kind of archival thing to it, but sure, it's still in a few pieces of it left out there. But this just looks so generic to me. It's really, it's a far cry from the Shatner mask. It's weird how little subtle things like that matter,
It's too white. It looks like one of them freaking what are they, like a kabuki mask or something.
Yeah, it's way too white.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too clean.
Yep. Too clean. Yep.
I guess maybe he's grabbing another mask somewhere along the way after he escapes because he doesn't have the original mask in obviously because he's been in a mental institution and yada yada yada.
Well, it burned.
Yeah, it burned up. He's been in the hospital and mental institution. So he must have stopped up at the hardware store, got a new mask, and I guess maybe that was the best option he had. But another thing that bugs me about this movie too is I don't like the setting of this house. It's just,
I agree.
The Strode house. It's just kind of, I don't know, man. The red brick. Like, just give me take it back to the old neighborhood. You know what I mean? Find a different house if you have to, but
right.
I always see one of the things I always complain about is that the Myers house is so iconic that it feels like it should be in all the movies, kind of like in A Nightmare on Elm Street in the sense that that house is really a big part of the personality of these movies and it gets left out.
You see, that's one way they were smart. Ultimately, it made no sense, but the house looks so cool, it doesn't matter. Because really, the house in Nightmare 1428 Elm doesn't really have any tie-ins to Freddy whatsoever. It just happens to be where Nancy lived in part one.
Right.
It became his house. Just sheer stupidity, but we didn't care because it was such a cool looking house. And it just became synonymous with it. So we just roll with it. And that was it. I mean, they totally should have done that here. It's 1988. Freddy's big. Jason is still big. And so they brought this back, and we understand why, you know. So I just wish they would have taken extra care with the details here. She is a highlight, though. I'll tell you what. I'm not the biggest fan of Danielle Harris, and I will say that this is her best performance. Is her first performance. She's actually really good in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, kid actors can be awful, and she's charming. You know, she's definitely really good. I think that, you know, even though she's kind of annoying in the next one, it's not really her fault. She's mute for half the movie, and then all she does is scream Tina for like the second half. So, you know, yeah, but she is charismatic, and I like her in this. I like her in the Hatchet movies, all grown up. You know, I mean,
she's fine. She's fine. I just don't. A lot of child actors, you'll notice, are really good when they're children, and then by the time they reach adulthood, they're just I don't know. It's not there. You see it all the time. Look at like Corey Feldman and all them. You know. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, Corey Feldman couldn't act his way out of a paper bag now. You know.
No. But when he was a kid, you were great. Think about those iconic things like Goonies, Friday 4. And he was great in those movies. Gremlins even, you know?
Yeah.
And now, forget about it.
I don't know if it... Man. Oh, yeah, Loomis himself. Yeah.
You don't have Loomis, this movie to me, I don't know. He carries the movie. Part 4 and 5, he carries it for me. If they didn't have Loomis, I wouldn't even watch him.
Dude, he carries all the movies. That's why it's such a drag that has that generic replacement Loomis in the new movie. Also, new movie didn't have the house in it except for like a crappy little dollhouse on the floor. But I don't know. You got to have Loomis in a Halloween movie because he's the nemesis. I mean, he's not the nemesis, but he's like the arch rival, you know? Like, he balances out Michael, and he really carries the narrative along in these movies. So
that's what separates the Halloween franchise from the other ones, is that you had a constant, you know, you had Michael and you had the nemesis of him throughout 6 straight movies. Well, not part 3, pardon me. Throughout 5 continuous movies of Michael in them. And I like that. And that is one good thing about it. And the other ones didn't have that. I mean, they brought Nancy back, you know, in 3, and they tried to make their own Loomis in part, and you know, in Jason Lives, they try to turn like, you know, Tommy into like a Loomis character.
But, right.
You know, it wasn't the same thing. The Tommy trilogy with 4, 5, and 6. He was a little boy in 4. In part 5, he was a head case, and in part 6, all of a sudden, he's, you know, he knows everything about Jason. So it was a weak attempt, but that's one thing about this series, that he's the constant. And he really, to me, like I said, he carries it, especially in this movie. He's the most interesting.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Donald Pleasance always brings a certain gravitas to these shitty slasher movies, you know. So yeah, you know, with Nightmare on Elm Street, it was always like the new final girl was like the counterbalance to Freddy, but not a lot of consistency there. And yeah, with Friday, I guess it was Tommy Jarvis, right? And that only lasted for 3 movies, and it's a different actor every movie. So it's only, and you know, it was a time jump between ages and things, so there wasn't really a lot of consistency there either. So, you know, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. Yeah, I really do love the Halloween series because of that aspect of these movies. I like 6. Okay, I think it's because you know, it's got a horrible ending.
Yep.
Either cut, but there's a lot of good stuff in there too, and I think it was on TV a shitload when I was growing up, so I saw it a lot. But there's some really great Halloween stuff in there, and of course you got Donald Pleasance's last movie where he passed away, fortunately. But what do you think of the other version of Loomis and the Rob Zombie movies? What's the guy's name? Famous actor.
Malcolm McDowell,
McDowell's version of Loomis.
You know, I'm actually okay with it. I'm okay with him in the remake, and I'm okay with what they did with him in the follow up because
Right.
it's not typical Loomis whatsoever. But it's something that happens in real life all the time. People get a little fame and it goes to their head. I thought it was an interesting, way to play it. I know a lot of people don't because they're stuck on this Loomis, but that's what I like about H2. And a lot of people don't like to hear it. A lot of people don't like that movie, but I like where all the characters go in H2 compared to where they are in the first. I mean, when things like that happen in real life and they go back to them 2 years later, they are broken. You have broken characters, and then you have the one character who achieved fame out of it. And when people achieve fame, that's what happens sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always thought like Halloween 2, Rob Zombie Halloween 2, not a bad movie. I never really thought it fit Michael's character. So if it was just some other movie not related to Halloween, I would say I like it. I think it's a pretty fun movie. It's pretty crazy, right? But I just get my panties in a bunch about the fact that it kind of like shits on the character of Michael, honestly. And like the Rob Zombie, I watched 3 from Hell. He's such I just kind of feel like he's just a really shallow director, like he likes the things he likes. He's like a kid playing in a toy box, his approach to everything is really a surface level, and I mean, that can be a good thing. I think, Devil's Rejects is a fun movie because those are his characters and he plays it the way he wants. And it's just sort of his universe. So it kind of like alienates me. And I get, like I said, I kind of get like ticked off that he's taking Michael and kind of putting it in this weird alternate universe. But those movies aren't terrible, they just kind of annoy me as Halloween movies.
I could see that. I understand that. I like that they're different though. And I'm not a huge fan of the first one. I like the second one better, but I don't know.
My main gripe about the first one, dude, is that they completely demystify Michael and his origins and what's going on with him and showing and doing the whole white trash thing with him growing up and stuff. Like,
right.
Maybe they spent just a little too much time on all that. I mean, they definitely did. The second part of the movie really isn't as bad, but what kills it for me is definitely the long backstory we get of Michael as a kid and his mom being a stripper and his white trash dad. And maybe they just, had clipped it down to just like, just him like killing that kid in the woods, is really the only scene we kind of needed. Maybe a little bit of build up to it.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. There's parts of it I like and there's parts of it I don't like when it comes to that. I'm kind of glad that I actually like the first half better than the second half. And I'm not into all I don't know. It's hard to explain because the second half, it just seems too generic and too beat for beat, like the original. And then I really, really do not like the final chase scene. It just is so long and boring to me.
Oh, yeah, it does carry on a little bit long. And then she's in the pool, and then,
he's punching walls and in the house and punching the ceiling. And it's just, there's nothing to it. There's no suspense by that point. And that's unfortunate. That's what really brings it down. I'm not crazy about the first half, but I like Rob Zombie's vision as far as behind the camera. I like his visual style. That's what I like about him. And that's what it is. As far as he does get too one note, and his visual style, he's lost it his last 2 movies. Like to me, H2 and Lords of Salem were his best shot films. I thought they looked really good.
Yeah.
And now he's reverted back to what he's done with
31 and 3. Yeah. 3 for Hell was just like, I was like watching it and I was thinking to myself, this is not bad. And then like literally the next sequence would be awful. And he does this thing where he'll turn his movies all of a sudden into like a music video or something. But he just does stuff that's really silly. It just seems really like a complete tonal shift. I do like the fact that he experiments, but there has to be some like consistency through the movie, and I just find some of his dialogue goofy, but I think I have to say overall, I'm not really a fan of Rob Zombie, but he has his moments. You know what I mean? He has his moments, and he does his own thing, which I can respect. But it's most of the time, it's just not really for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I wish that everything was like it was. House of a Thousand Corpses was perfect for Rob Zombie as a director for me.
Yeah.
I wish he would have kept that style in every movie. I really do. That's my favorite. It's what I expect. This here is ridiculous, I think, because I don't care how mean kids are. I've seen a lot of mean kids, and I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
When we were kids, I don't think anybody makes fun of a kid for having a dead parent. I don't care how big a bully you are. Doesn't it seem
true.
like, it's a little too much.
I think it's too heavy. Dead. It's just too heavy for kids. You know what I mean? Like they would be intimidated by that sort of subject matter. They wouldn't just bring it right out in the open and then make fun of somebody for it. I mean, even kids, even bullies have like a sense of shame at some points, But,
yes.
Yeah, that is a little unbelievable. A little bit, out of place or something. But I did like the mask costume. I was a huge mask.
Yes.
I was a kid in the 80s.
I remember that. I like seeing the old school costumes with the, just the way they look. Man, I don't know. I don't think they're still like that anymore. Those were the best. Those
man. So they come in a box and they're like vinyl.
Yes.
Basically like a vinyl apron that you just tie on, and then like the mask is just like this cheap, like pressed out vinyl plastic mask you put on. It's like the edges were always really sharp, and it'd always get like really wet on the inside.
Yep.
Like
you're sweating. Oh yeah.
Off.
Yeah, those were great times. I like those. They look better than the stuff nowadays. Now it's all about just going to like where these kids go, Party City or something, and just buying like, I don't know. There's just something about those old school masks that are better to me. It's just I don't know. It was exciting shopping back then.
Yeah, they were always looking for that one character everybody wanted that year.
Yep.
A lot. I go into like a Walgreens or a Target, and their costumes like suck. Like Target, like every costume I see is like some like plush head, giant head that you put on, or like a terry cloth one suit. Like they're almost like PJs or something.
Yep.
You don't see any like cool characters anymore. It's like, what the hell happened to Halloween?
It's like a lot of things now. There's no soul to anything anymore. Everything's just there. There's no like, I don't know. Nothing's as exciting as it used to be. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just sad but true. Back then it was just better. Everything was better.
People tried harder, man. People used their fucking creativity and imagination to come up with cool things.
Yeah. Now everything's just mass marketed. Granted, it was mass marketed then too, but
yeah, it was the 80s.
Yeah, there's just I don't know. There's just no soul is the best way I can describe everything these days. There's just not. It's just not there.
Mm.
This is
you definitely know who had soul is this chick's tits, man. She's definitely like a highlight of this movie though, just because she's a sheriff's daughter. She's hot. She brings that classic slasher element into this. Gonna have the babe with the big chest.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yep. Fits right in. And she is a bitch, but the thing is, and this guy ends up becoming an asshole, but the characters in the old slashers, you're just, I don't know, you can relate to them more than the way they're portrayed now in movies.
I mean, I think that's just part of aging out of the group. I guess, I don't know, like maybe kids now like relate to more to the kids and slashers that are in shows now and, movies now.
Maybe, but they're unlikable. You never get any likable characters.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that even at 42, I could recognize a likable character.
Right. They're just not there in these slashers. I don't know. See, there you go. This is cool.
Yeah.
We've been doing it this way,
Yeah, sure. I mean, to me, I recall them coming out like they were always in like little boxes, cardboard boxes. But you always had like a rack of like, costumes. You had like those really cool rubber masks. You never see that shit anymore.
No, those boxes. Yeah, there was that one company. I wish I could remember what it was, but it's very nostalgic. I can close my eyes and even see the logo for that company, but I can't remember what it was called. But they were all like that. Ben something maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But those were great. They did come in boxes. Yep.
Yeah, let's see.
And you just saw the face of the mask. You couldn't actually see what the rest of the costume looked like until you took it out. But then again, there was usually a display of that. And the mask
was it Ben Cooper?
There you go, Ben Cooper. I told you it was Ben something. Wow. Yeah,
they had a whole bunch of cool shit.
Oh man,
I mean, you can find those on. It would be really cool to collect those. You can find them on eBay and stuff.
I wish that'd be a nice collection to have.
Yeah, it would be actually.
Old school masks, just whatever ones. I could think of the ones I wore, and yeah, that was cool.
Oh man, here's a cool vintage '87 RoboCop in the box. Nice.
That's cool.
Opening bid's 99 cents, man. Maybe I should put a bid on it.
Yeah. Does it come with the box?
Yeah, has a box. Box a little tattered, but I'll take it anyway.
Oh, for sure. That's something that might be my next thing to collect. I figured it'd be more expensive. That's cool.
What's your little girl gonna go as a Halloween this year?
You know what? I don't even know, but I know that she did something. Went to a Halloween party and she was something or other. She's into like these weird cartoons and like anime cartoons and these other things that are on YouTube, and I can't keep up with what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get older, man. It's like people get into stuff and we don't even know what it is. We're not even privy to it,
Well, no, I don't watch it with her. You know what I mean? There's if it was different, if these were the days of Saturday morning cartoons and things like that, and she got up and watched something, it's not like that now.
You know what's funny though is that I manage an '80s arcade, so it's a retro arcade. All '80s games. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of birthday parties there, so I'm like around kids a lot and stuff. And we have a TV in the party area, and I always put on like '80s Transformers cartoons. I know these kids have never seen it because they're like 7, 8, 9 years old, and they get sucked right into it, man. They like it. They're into that He-Man, all that stuff.
Nice.
In the '80s, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's still the appeal of that stuff is still there,
Oh yeah, because they can relate to it because they know of the product of the Transformers brand, and they see that and they see that it's a different looking cartoon with an actual plot to it. Yeah,
it's like going back to what you're saying about things having soul. I mean, there's an appeal to the things of our generation, and I try to watch some cartoons that come out now for kids, and I'm like, I don't even understand what the hell it's even about.
Yeah. No, there's nothing. We used to remember what a big deal Saturday morning cartoons were. Is that even a thing anymore? I don't even think it's a thing anymore.
No, they stopped doing it. And I was definitely, I do, some of my earliest memories was like waking up in bed, my dad calling me from downstairs because my bedroom was upstairs. He called me to wake up, and I could smell bacon was cooking and pancakes. I'd come down, and I'd sit down in front of the TV, my tidy whities. I'd turn on the TV to make that noise that, old tube TVs would make. Yeah. Turn on Saturday morning cartoons, man. Get a couple shows in. Dad served me breakfast, pancakes, bacon, cinnamon toast, and I just sit and watch cartoons all the way till like early afternoon,
Oh, it was great. It was. They had Saturday morning cartoons, and then when they ended, I watched wrestling. And that was it. You looked forward to it every. That's what I'm saying. What do the kids look forward to now? They don't have that Saturday morning ritual that we had. It was like, man.
Yeah, they just roll over and turn their iPad on.
Yeah, it sucks. That's what I'm saying. Right. There's no soul, man. That's just it. We had that. Do you even remember looking in the TV guide like in like August because they would be giving you the lineup for Saturday morning cartoons that year because it would always be like a new one debuting or something, at least one. And of course there was different channels. So, but they would have like a little one sheet or a half a sheet in the TV guide and would say, this year's Saturday morning lineup at 8:30, it's this, at 9:00, it's this. And you would see it all. We're debuting a new show called The Schnorks at 9:30. Yeah. Don't you remember stuff like that? How exciting it was. You would actually look in into the TV guide to see what was going to be this year's Saturday morning lineup. That was a thing, man. That's it.
I used to watch a lot of the one of my favorites was Dungeons and Dragons. That was a really good one. You can find a lot of those on YouTube now, which is cool. Sometimes I'll just turn them on, but there was a lot of good cartoons too. Is Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, Dungeons and Dragons, Smurfs, Snorkels, or some of the Snorks, Dino the Last Dinosaur.
Oh, Denver.
Denver Last Dinosaur. It was just good times, man. There's a reason why everybody loves the 80s.
That's right. I know. There is a reason. I'm with you. They were great times. They really were. It's just I'm glad I'm glad I was born when I was born and I got to experience everything I did. And right now, being the age I am now, for everything it's great because now I can go back and watch all that stuff, with the click of a button and relive it again. So it's nice to have that option. I feel that it was the perfect age.
It really was, dude. We were so lucky. And, we didn't have all this technology fucking shit up. We just get on our bicycles and go out, ride around the neighborhood and come home, fucking flip on some HBO, watch a horror movie, that's good times, man. That's good times.
Yeah, and I stayed in a lot too because when the Nintendo came out, we had Atari, but when the NES came out, that was revolutionary in so many ways. The graphics were 100 times what was before. Mind blowing.
You're old enough that we had the Atari 2600, which was in itself really cool when it came out in the late 70s, early 80s, and we had one somehow. We were pretty poor, but somehow we had one. And just playing Pac-Man and Space Invaders, and that was awesome. Then when the NES came out in the 80s, it was like bringing an actual arcade cabinet home and plugging into your TV, and you could save up 20, 30, $40 for a new cart, and then you and your friends would trade carts, trade games, or you have your friend come over, they bring their little their little container with all their carts over to your house, and you just play all day long, and dude, that was just so much fun. It's awesome.
It was amazing. And my brother, who's 40 years old, he's 7 years younger than me. He tells the story of the first time, because when the NES was 85. So, I'm 13 at the time. And we brought it home, my friend and I. We saw it. We didn't even know it was coming out. We saw it at this local department store called Hills. And we went in. It was in the TV section for some reason. We just saw it there. Nintendo at the time only had 6 games. And there it was. And we combined our money and we bought it together. And we kept it at my house. And we started playing it. We brought it. And now my brother tells the story of the first time he saw it on the screen, how it was literally too much for him. To see those graphics, he didn't even want to play it. He just sat there. I didn't know about this till a few years ago when he told me the story. He goes, I'll never forget it. The first time I saw it, and he goes, I couldn't even play it. I was just mesmerized to sit and watch you two play it, and to see that on my screen, it was mind blowing for him. Mm-hmm. He couldn't comprehend how something like that was in the house. He didn't want to play it. He was just blown away by it. And I was like, man, that's saying something. That would never happen now.
No, because it's so much. It's so over. I mean, now they play games like Fortnite. It's all world building. One of the things I noticed, managing an arcade is that that has, we have Xbox stations, but we also have a lot of 80s arcade cabinets. And the 80s arcade cabinets, 70s, 80s, early 90s arcade cabinets, they're all skill based. You have to learn a skill to be good at Donkey Kong Jr. And you have to, it's repetition and memorization and patterns. Skill, right? Hand and eye coordination patterns. Yep. And the kids now have absolutely no tolerance for it. They just want to go get lost in a world of video games, and those games don't take any skill. They take some memorization to maybe go find an item, bring it back, connect these two items together, level up to the next thing. But it doesn't really take any skill. You can just, if you die, you just keep going, And
it's all graphics now. It's all graphics.
Oh yeah.
No
world
gameplay.
building and graphics and content. It's not about skill. So the kids will like hit the buttons a couple times and they'll like walk away. And it's like you have to like stick with it for a little while and try to like build your skill level at it. And then it becomes fun because it's a challenge. You're challenging yourself, And new generation doesn't understand that kind of gameplay.
No soul. Back to that. That's what it comes down to. There's nothing going on there. It's just kids playing games, and if they want to try to beat it, all they got to do is go online and get cheat codes, or not cheat codes. That's something from the past, but just Google it or go on YouTube and see how to get through a hard part. We didn't have that. It came later. We got things like that, and there was Game Genie later on and everything else. But I mean, for most of my childhood, it was just you learned to beat this game on your own, and there was no help. I mean, if you were lucky enough, you might get a code in Nintendo Power or something like that.
Right.
That's how it was for us. We had to learn it. I mean, and it was a big deal. Like I will never forget the day I beat Super Mario Brothers, the original. It was a Saturday morning. I'm telling you, I remember it. How long it took. It took months to beat that game. A lot of games are like that. Some games we never beat. I never beat Castlevania. I mean, you got to the end, you killed the one thing, and then the big giant thing came out at the end and crushed me. There were some games that we never beat, but when you did beat them, like Metroid, took months and months, and we got it, and it was memorable. Mm-hmm. Now it's just,
I have a NES Classic Mini, and I think it's got Mega Man on there, and I was like playing through it, and I was like having like flashbacks to giant chunks of time in my childhood where I was exploring these different side scroller scenes, like, oh shit, I remember that. Like literally hadn't accessed that memory since like 30 years ago. And you would just share information word of mouth. There was no looking it up on YouTube. I mean, shit, kids now, they just ask somebody in that they're playing along with online with the headphones, and they just go, what do I do? And the person tells them right away. So look, I'm not knocking it. Every generation has their own thing, their own, the way that they experience their generation and their culture. And so I try to understand it, but if I look at it comparatively, it doesn't seem as good to me. I'm sorry, but there's something nice to say for some simplicity and innocence when you're a child. And I don't know, man. I feel you. I totally feel you. But
like nothing seems exciting for them. Like they'll never know the rush of going to a video store and browsing it for a long time and then picking out a movie with friends. What are we going to watch tonight? I mean, yes, is it awesome to just turn on Netflix or whatever streaming service and sit down and pick out a movie and play it? Sure. It's nice to have that at your fingertips, but they'll never get that rush that we had of going to the video store with your friends.
That's so true.
It's like a rite of passage for people in our generation. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was just going to the movie store and getting a pizza was an event.
Right.
And like having quality time with a friend, and what is this? What's special to them now? Because they have so much access to everything,
Yep. So, okay, here you go. Back to this movie. Why would Jamie have a picture? Dead dog. Why would Jamie have a picture of Michael Myers as a child in that box, dressed up in a clown suit? So the night that Michael killed his sister in 1978, somebody took a photograph of him dressed up in that clown suit, and somehow the picture ended up in Jamie's box.
Yeah, I know.
How was that?
The only thing you can assume is that somehow she inherited some photos that made their way to her shoebox, but
I guess
it's very contrived plot device essentially to keep the movie going, keep the story going. But
and that's what I'm saying. Like Halloween 1 and 2, there was no bullshit like that. You know what I mean? When this movie comes around, and it's like you don't even try to compare it because none of it makes any sense now. And that's my issue. I mean, part 1 and 2 were just like another level to me. Everything else.
Oh, absolutely.
I
cannot understand how somebody would not like Halloween 2. Like it's like it just makes one like a really long movie. Essentially, they go great together. I like the vibe of 2 a lot.
Me too.
And I think the shape. People don't like Warlock. I have no problem with Warlock at all. The original shape's the best, obviously, but I do like Warlock's take just fine. I like the way the mask looks in the movie. I love the blood tears. I love It's the first real hospital slasher for me personally. All the nurses are hot. You know, there's some cool deaths in there. I mean, Rick Rosenthal really did a good job with it.
I agree. There's good atmosphere, and it feels more Halloween than the first one does.
Yeah.
Like the holiday. You know what I mean? It feels Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, that most of it's in the hospital, it still does feel very Halloween-esque. But
probably because it's all at night.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
So it's Halloween night stuff. Yes,
spooky.
It is.
And so they're gonna this new Halloween coming out. It's gonna be they're going back to Haddonfield Memorial.
I'm glad.
That one, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Who cares? You know, like,
do it.
What do they have to lose at this point? You know, like they want to go nostalgia, member berries on it. Go for it. You know,
do it. That's fine. That's what they did with the first one, and I'm fine with it. I am okay with that. Have fun with it. Don't like the titles. Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. They are stupid titles, but they should have called the first one Halloween Returns, because they originally were going to call it that. They should have. That's not a great title. Don't get me wrong, but it's better than just Halloween.
It's generic. Halloween Returns is generic, but it's generic in a way that's nostalgic, so it's passable.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, I would have been happier with H40 or something. You know, like
that's what I called it. Right.
You know?
Yeah. H40.
40 years later, you know, but just to call it Halloween just seemed like a diss on the original movie. We already have 2 other movies named Halloween. So not only are you adding to the confusion, so when you're having a conversation about these movies, you have to clarify. But you're kind of just taking away from what the original. It's like, what are you saying? This is a reboot or no? You know?
Right. I hear you. It's weird. That's how it is nowadays. You know.
Another great thing they got.
2018.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's what I call it. No, I just call it Halloween 2018. That's it.
Yeah, Halloween 18 or Halloween 40 or whatever. Yeah, I go with
and Rob Zombie's Halloween is just Rob Zombie's Halloween. I don't call it Halloween 2007. I call it Rob Zombie's Halloween. I think everybody does. You know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so they got the shape right. I really like that. They got the intro right.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked John Carpenter's score is fucking kick ass.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah.
Really, really good. And I really like the kill. There's 2 kills I like. I like the kill with the kid in the backyard with the motion lights. That was really good.
Yep.
And the kill where he carves out the guy's head into a pumpkin was really good. And the shots looking down on Michael trapped in the basement was really good. But the whole thing with Laurie's house and having it be a big trap with the moving island and all that, like, felt so convoluted. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about it. And the weird ending where they get into the back of the truck and it's like almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre moment where they got the knife, and it felt really abrupt the way they ended it. I don't know if you felt like that watching it, but that was my opinion. So even the first time I saw it, I was like, it just ends like, boom, done. I was kind of half expecting Laurie to sort of fall on her own sword and just die, you know, and then hand it off to the next generation of Strode ladies or something to keep it going.
Maybe that will happen in the next one. Maybe that was the plan.
Yeah.
You know, because they made her go to the hospital. Because that's my one gripe is it makes no sense. I don't mind that she spent her entire life setting that stuff up and everything else. But the thing is, if you're going to do that, there's no way she could leave without seeing his corpse. The fact she leaves without seeing him dead is the thing that bothers me, because she was so on point in every other way. She had every base covered. She trained herself. She rigged her house. She did everything perfectly. But now, if they're taking her to the hospital because she sustained injuries, and that is what happened. So I can kind of excuse it a bit, but you would think she would stay to see literally to see the ashes, to make sure the man is dead.
Right. Because he already survived one explosion, so
right.
Why would she rig a trap that caged him in a giant furnace or like a crematory type situation, or which I know is convoluted as well. I'm just saying, you know, that's one way to be absolutely sure he burns up, or you know, maybe you have to blow them up blow them up or something, you know, have a couple sticks of dynamite, which really isn't out of the realm of what she could possibly do. Thinking like, you know, Jason Goes to Hell sort of scenario or something. I mean, you think she would want to come up with a scenario that makes it absolutely certain that he is obliterated, you know, and he's not coming back, or else she'll never get the true peace that she wants, you know, that she desires.
Yeah, the whole movie was about, you know, her obsession with him coming back and making sure if he ever comes back, this time I'm going to get him, you know? And then ultimately, you know, granted, how can you escape a fire and everything else? But obviously, they're going to have it so he does. So it's like, I don't know. But I will tell you this. The issue that you had with the end, I liked it because my interpretation of the knife and what was going on and the granddaughter holding it was that in the original, in Halloween 78, the big thing that happens in that movie, 3 or 4 times, if you pay attention, actually you probably know this isn't something, you know, I'm not revealing anything big, but... No,
you're telling it to the audience too, not just me.
True, but Laurie throws the knife away 3 or 4 separate times.
Right.
She stabs him. She throws the knife away. She stabs him again in the closet. She throws the knife away. Later on in the movie, she stabs him. She keeps throwing the damn knife away. And it's funny because if you watch the commentary, I don't know if you've ever seen the commentary with Halloween from what do you call it?
John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis?
Correct. The John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis commentary.
Right.
It's funny because she makes fun of herself.
Right.
Right? And she says, oh, I'm throwing the knife away again. So she brings it up. And what I think is happening here, the fact that the granddaughter is not throwing it away. She's holding on to it like grim death. So they're saying, okay, this is a different generation. She's passing it on because she doesn't really relate to her daughter. It's more like the next generation. It's almost like they're skipping the daughter. It's going right to the granddaughter because she's the teen. She's the one that's going to be stalked, you know? So I think by showing that, I think they did that. I think that was the intention. Saying,
okay. I mean, that's really interesting, dude. I hadn't thought of that. I like that idea. I don't have a problem with that at all. I didn't even have a problem with the fact she had the knife. I just felt like them hopping in the pickup truck and then it automatically just stopping the movie on that scene. I didn't feel like a really well thought out resolution to the end of a movie. Like I didn't feel like a good note to end the movie on. I don't know. It's just the way it was presented, you know, theatrically, but it just felt really abrupt and sudden. But that's just me. That's my personal opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, no, and I can see what you're saying, but I think maybe that was done because the climax was so long. There was so much going on with the setup of the trapping of Michael and everything else, and maybe it went a little too long for my taste, but. You know,
like I would have you have to end it. I would have ended it more on a quiet note. Like, you know how in like, what is it? Friday the 13th part 4 and you pull away, everything goes away. And there's that quiet moment that's sort of like focused on like a shed or barn or something.
Oh yeah. It's eerie. I love it. I know exactly.
Like they should have done something like that where like the pickup truck goes away. And then you kind of pull up in a way and you see some leaves and some like a full moon or I don't know, whatever. Something, you know, just to make it eerie and then hit the credits. But it just cuts right off. And that just really, that just bummed me out a little bit. But, well, it's just a head scratcher. It's like, why did they do that? It's kind of strange. But that's a director's choice.
Yeah, but I can see that. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Oh, good scene here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hello.
Yeah,
she could rival Deborah Sue Voorhees, man. You really could.
Yeah, she's okay. I think Debbie Sue Voorhees was much prettier though, but
yeah, Yeah, I'm more of a brunettes guy personally, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah, like anyway, she's got a nice body. I just don't think she's as pretty as Debbie Sue was, when you get right down to it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I always love the story about how they had casted another chick for that role in Friday the 13th Part 5. They had another woman cast, and the director, who was like a porn director, fired that woman and hired Debbie Sue Voorhees because of their chest size. He had his priorities straight. I would have loved to have seen like a director's cut of that, where it's just basically just a sexed up movie with a little bit of Jason in it.
I wish they did have that available. That'd be funny, for sure. Okay, now this is kind of ridiculous. The things that happen here now, when Michael decides randomly he's gonna crawl in the back of a cop car and take a ride with him. It's just so far removed from anything that would have happened in 1978. He's gonna climb in the back of a car and hide.
Right. Yeah, this is where they start thinking more about scares and kills than they do about story and substance. And the general audience is just going to be like, not really thinking about things like that when they watch it, in the theater. But horror fans, they know stuff like little glitches in logic like that really annoy the shit out of you, because we watch these movies so many times. It just kind of gets on our nerves. But there's certain things that I think we're willing to forgive, and other things that you're just like, come on, man, that's just stupid.
And that's just it. The original was so good, there was none of that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
that's why it has integrity. I mean, Halloween 2 has a little bit of that. Like, come on, the babies, what they blow up in the hospital too, that kind of thing. But
maybe
the first movie definitely is just, I think sometimes concepts like these, they work so well when they're just really simple and straightforward. And then when you start adding in cults and family members and stuff, like, it just becomes too much for the concept to really handle. If you know what I mean? Like, once it becomes more and more complicated, then more and more mistakes get made, and then you end up with a movie that you just go like, I don't really understand why they would do that. Well, they don't really care. They just want you to go see the movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is.
But, I mean, for some reason, I just kind of call it a product of the times and get it moved. I don't know why things like that and these types of movies don't bother me as much as some of the things that bother me in like H4O, like, I really need to sit down and like be honest with myself about like why things that don't make sense and that are annoying in these movies don't bother me as much as they do in those movies. Like, I really need to take an honest look at myself at why I'm more judgmental about the new stuff. And I don't want to think it's all nostalgia. There's got to be some other elements in there, because I can be forgiving of modern day horror movies. Yeah. I mean, I could be forgiving of. I thought the Chucky reboot was really good, man. And there's all kinds of weird shit in there, but it gave me. I had a really good time, and it was like self-aware enough to know that it played into its own flaws.
No, I had fun with it. I just, I don't care when it was made. If I see things that don't make sense to me, they're unexplained, I don't know. I don't know. Like even the first time I saw this movie, I was a kid and I noticed it. I was like, that doesn't make much sense. You know what I mean? So I was like,
right.
I don't know. All I knew is that when I left the theater, I was like, yeah, it was okay. It was all right. It wasn't like part 1 or 2, but
I really wish I could have seen more Halloween movies in a theater, but I was raised by and she hates horror movies, like absolutely hates them. So I never got to go see horror movies. Like, we didn't live like nearby a movie theater where like me and my buddies could just ride our bikes to go see movies. So unfortunately, the only way I could ever see them was like on VHS, like years later. And I can imagine imagine that these were like so much fun. Yeah, you're a little bit older than me, I think, right? About 5 years or something.
Yep.
But I can imagine it was just like so much fun to watch these in a theater. And to be honest, I was like really, really excited to see, Halloween 18 last October in the theater and have, finally have that experience seeing like a Halloween movie. I think, by the time I was in high school, it was Resurrection and maybe H2O. But I was not into horror at the time. I was into like having a girlfriend and listening to like Nirvana and Pearl Jam. I wasn't, into like going to see Halloween movies in the theater. So
yeah, I hear you. I understand.
Especially like bad sequel Halloweens.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that'll happen. Like I didn't even see part 6. I saw 4, and then I went back for 5. And after 5, I was kind of and then didn't see 6, and that was that. I remember when H2O came back, they made a big deal about it because Jamie Lee was coming back.
H2O is actually a pretty good movie, man.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah,
I didn't like it for a lot of years because I think it feels tonally pretty like really different than all the other Halloween movies. But
it does. Yeah,
it's a good movie though. I think for the most part. I mean, it has again soul crushingly bad shape decisions in it with the masks and all that, but I think it just goes to show you that like a good movie you can almost forgive that if the movie's good enough, it has its charms, and it has, Jamie Lee in there with her mom, Janet Leigh, and the cool little psycho throwback. And but I was going to ask you something. Oh, I was going to say, is there any story behind that? The sheriff's daughter's wearing that shirt. Cops do it by the book.
Right.
Is that just like a random thing, or is there a story there? Like every time I watch this movie, I think about that.
That's funny. Well, they used to always have expressions and phrases back then about how somebody does it. Somebody does it better. Cops do it better, or somebody does it better, or that was like a thing that was more around in like the late 70s and the early 80s. And so that's playing off of that old slogan.
Interesting, man. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, that's what it was. It would have been like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good pun that would actually work. And of course, when I'm on the spot, I can't come up with it. But there was always some type of pun that had to do like somebody does it a certain way, which was kind of like I had like a double meaning to it.
Yeah, an innuendo. And I was like, what's the innuendo there? There's got to be something subtle in there. And like, so if she's saying that cops do it by the book and her dad's the sheriff, it's a weird incest innuendo then, isn't it?
I guess if you think about that, yeah. Especially for a high school student. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, that is kind of strange.
If you guys know, if anybody listening to this knows, like, or has a theory on that, like, definitely let us know in the comments, because I'm really interested to find out. I don't know why. Every time I watch this movie and I see that shirt, I'm like, I know the director was thinking of something. They don't just come up with some random phrase. There's always something behind everything, you know what I mean? So if anybody's got any, like, secondhand knowledge on that, definitely shoot it to me in the comments or in an email or something. Look at those stonewashed jeans, man.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yep.
So glad that shit went away. I'd never liked that shit, not even back in the 80s.
I didn't like it either. I'm with you. Yep. Yeah, cops do it by the book. I guess it's just saying, they do it the way it's supposed to be done.
Missionary style.
Yeah, like they're good in bed. They do it by the book. They don't stray from it.
Shoot from the hip.
Yeah, man. Something like that. See, I'm trying. I wish I could find where all that started. Like some of them, damn it, I can't do it. Maybe a good joke will come to me by the end of this, but I don't know.
See, it's weird because so the girl, the slutty sheriff's daughter or whatever. I mean, is she really kind of a bitch, or she's just kind of a slut, right? Because she's not really mean.
Well,
she's not really mean to her. She's just saying, look, like you got to give dudes what they want, or they're going to find somebody else, and yada, yada, yada. I don't think it was a personal thing against her.
No, but she was a bitch earlier to the kid. Fuck off, Wade. Remember the kid was trying to hit on her when she was working?
Yeah, his game was pretty weak, though. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You saw it coming a mile away.
That's true. See, now this does nothing for me as a climax to a slasher film. You got a house, you got cops in it, adults, you got 6 or 7 people trapped in one house waiting for someone to come after you. Mm-hmm. That doesn't do it for me. Like when I watch a slasher, I don't want multiple people in a house as my climax. I want a final girl, maybe like 3 or 4 people maximum, some teens getting killed off one by one. I don't. This always takes me out of it every time. Like when you have cops in the house, and adults and things, and all these people in the house with you. There's no, I don't know. To me, it's just not scary the way it would be if it was a final. You know what I mean? By comparison to other slashers.
No, totally get it. I think what they were thinking is that you just have to up the ante because that's the way sequels work. So if they were just going to have that happen, then people would say, oh, well, it's just like the first movie. So how can we up the intensity of it? We'll have the girl be even younger. The final girl be even young. Jamie Lloyd be even younger. She's the final girl. And then we'll have, cops there and more people to kill. And it'll be more of a confrontation. And that's what I always assume. I mean, they always ramp it up in the next movie they have to ratchet it up a little bit, I
suppose. To me, it just doesn't work for that. I don't know. It's just not. It's never worked for me. At least in the hospital, 6 people were killed throughout the course of a night, and it's a big place. Mm-hmm. I do like this sequence, though.
Oh, the shotgun through the stomach?
Just the whole thing with Michael pretending to be the cop that was.
Oh, in the rocking chair? Yeah. Mask didn't look terrible in that shot. Because it's in the dark, but.
And that's a play on, the knife kill in part 1 with Bob. But right. I mean, just think about that. Think about the knife kill with Bob and compare it to that. Think about the original film and Tommy getting picked on in school. Boogeyman's coming and tripping over his pumpkin and him bumping into Michael compared to the kids, making fun of Jamie because her mom's dead. It's just.
Well, there's like a sort of like refrain, like a silent sort of simplistic terror that sets in when you watch the original Halloween. Like they take the time to let shots play through. Like for example, when he stabs Bob and he just stops and he looks at him, he tilts his head a little bit, and like they allow the audience to have the moment.
Yep.
And they don't. For whatever reason, a lot of the directors that came after Carpenter didn't really have that sense of what the movie was about, which was just being creepy, a creepy movie about the boogeyman, and letting the audience get sucked into those moments of him creeping around the house. And it doesn't have to be all jump scares and loud noises and quick moving shots and gore and everything. It's just about the quiet simplicity of the horror of the moment,
Right. Much, much better. And you got guns and stuff here. You're defending yourself. See, I guess when you're anticipating the killer, it doesn't do anything for me.
Right. No.
They're preparing for him. It's not like it was. Even like the first couple Friday the 13th, you have what you have. And they did still have suspense and a final girl and things like that. And this is just 1988. This is when shit really starts to fall apart, really, with the genre. This is, 87, 88 and stuff. And I don't know. It's just, there was a change. There was a change with everything.
Yeah. And is Michael fucking Michael or is he Frankenstein?
Right.
Why is he walking like that? But dude. Yeah, you're right. The suspense is really a big part of it. Them not knowing what's happening is a big part of it. Because they had that in Halloween 2 as well. You know, I mean, Loomis knew, but the people at the hospital didn't know.
Right,
And
nobody knew. Right.
Yeah, this is different, you know, and like they're definitely trying to defend off Michael like he's just a common day criminal coming to the house, right?
Right. And then you have a child in it, which Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was the first movie they put a child in the slasher. Then all of a sudden, all children are always showing up in slashers from now on. There's no more final girl. There's final girl plus one or plus a child, and you know nothing's ever going to happen to a child. So I mean, there's no suspense there. At least that's how I always saw. I'm like, well, even as a child, I'm like, yeah, well, they're not going to kill a kid.
Yeah, yeah, but I gotta say, I do love Friday the 13th Part 5. You know, that formula worked really well for me in that one. But
no, the final chapter perfected it, having everything there and having the child. Just like it's the same analogy I have with Nightmare on Elm Street 3. That was perfection on having a scary killer with a couple of wisecracks in the movie. That was perfection. And then everything that came after, not just in the Nightmare series, but horror in general, when everybody was every other line was a wisecrack, and it became more about the goofiness and less about the scares. Same thing. Right. Perfection. Nightmare 3 was perfection for that formula, and Friday the 13th 4 was perfection for having a child in a slasher. But then everything else that followed, they amped everything up to 11, and it just...
Yeah.
That's what happens. You know, people get carried away. They're like, okay, this worked. Now how can we improve on that? Instead of just trying to, you know, keep it simple and do something similar, they try to outdo things, and then by doing that, they shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely true, man. They just inflate it. They don't think about... They just inflate it for shock value. They don't think about the emotional consequences of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just like... Because the movies, as they go along, become more inflated and cheaper. So the quality is going to go down, too. And so, yeah, then eventually you end up with something like Resurrection, you know, which is a fucking franchise killer. Somebody posted a picture of a fucking Busta Rhymes action figure the other day. Busta Rhymes from Halloween 7 or 8. Halloween 8. It
would be 8, Resurrection.
Yeah. And I was like, I kind of want it. Like, for some reason.
Trick or treat,
motherfucker.
See, there you go. Some people want it. If I ever got it, I would burn it.
I used to think it'd be like a tongue-in-cheek, like, collectible to have, you know, and just laugh at. I mean, at the end of the day, as terrible as some of these movies are, we still do try to love in them what we can, you know, what's available to love in them. Like even in Resurrection, the first 10 minutes of that movie ain't bad.
It ain't bad, but it's the worst cheat in the history of cheats. That's why it's unforgivable to me. Because H2O was a dynamic ending. It was fantastic.
She chops his head off, you know.
It's beautiful. It's freaking like poetic justice. That's like the best thing about that movie is how it ends. And then to shit all over it in the next movie, I just can't. I just pretend it doesn't even exist.
Yeah, that was beyond convenience. It was like almost like a fuck you. You guys are stupid. It's like insulting to the fans. Like, you know, oh, it was the paramedic all along, and it was like, you know, no, it wasn't. You know, like shut the fuck up. You know,
bad stuff.
Yeah, and then you can't have Busta Rhymes walking around in a house with a fucking Myers mask on. Looks just like Michael Myers. You know, and he confronts Michael at some point in the movie, and Michael just walks away. Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, character assassination. Really, I mean, come on.
I really feel bad that Rick Rosenthal ended up directing that because I like Halloween 2 so much, and it was like. It kind of like hurt his legacy a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, not that he's got like a glowing resume or anything, but at least his Halloween 2 movie was good. Now it's like, he's got an asterisk by it, you know?
Well, yeah, his Halloween 2 movie was good, but he had the assistance of so many others that worked on the first one.
That's true.
He had Carpenter and Hill producing, and Carpenter with the soundtrack, and probably giving him pointers. And he had Dean Cundy with as the cinematographer.
Yeah,
He had that
the guy's
look,
a legend. Dean Cundy, he's a fucking legend. You know what I mean?
Right. He had all the players with him. It's kind of like in football. Sometimes you can stick a quarterback who's just average in a situation where everything around him, he has the best coaching, the best offensive line, a top-notch running back and a receiver and a tight end. Troy Aikman, for example, to me, just an okay quarterback. But you put him in the perfect situation, and he comes up smelling like roses. That's like Rick Rosenthal in Hollywood too. It happens.
I was kind of thinking of what's his name, Packers fucking quarterback, Brett Favre. He was like that too, man. Like I never thought he was like all that great of a quarterback, because he was like fucking dude would throw an interception every other pass or something, you know. And we had to get around him back in the heyday.
That was more the tail end of his career when he started getting that way. That's because he was super confident in himself, but he earned it. I think Brett Favre. I think he made a lot of his receivers look better than they were. You know, a lot of those guys. I don't know that. Favre to me was very talented. I mean, how? But I guess we'll disagree on that.
You know what? I'll agree with you on that. Maybe he just clung on to it way too long. You know, he should have. He retired like 3 times before he actually quit.
Right. He just couldn't walk away. That's the thing. These guys can't walk away. They can't walk away till they're hobbled. Look at Tom Brady, still going, and Ben Roethlisberger. But now he is going to be on his way to being hobbled, and all of them. Eli, all these guys. That's the strange thing about. I have this conversation all the time with my brother when we're watching football. These guys have already won at life, and they don't even know it. They're rich beyond belief. They're such competitors that it's more important for them to win on the field than to win in life. They have everything a person could want. They never have to work again if they don't want to. But they are competitors. It's more important for them to try to chase that ring. But the thing is, they do it to the point that they can't leave until they're hobbled. And then 10, 20 years after playing the sport, they hurt to get out of the bed in the morning. That's what makes no sense to me. Could you imagine just winning at life, being a quarterback like a Jake Locker, some freaking guy who came out of college, signed with the Titans, and he's worth $7 million, and he sucked in the NFL. He played 2-3 years, and he made $7 million. That dude never has to work again in his life, and he can be happy. Sure, he lost the game of football, but he won the game of life. He's $7 million in the bank. You don't have to work anymore. That's how I look at it. That's what I would do. I would play a couple years, get that money, and then imagine the shit you could do with $7 million.
I think the difference is, dude, is that money is a really important thing to us. But when you obtain the goal of money, and money is never an issue to you anymore, what becomes important to you after that? And it's like, if you're going to be an athlete and you have an opportunity, I think what it is that you have ideas in your head of what you want to achieve in a short amount of time while you still can. And I think if you don't achieve that, I think it's hard to let go of that dream of achieving that, you know, having this record or that record or having this perfect game. And they can't let go of it because they're competitive. They think, oh, if I could squeeze out one more year and give myself the opportunity one more time. And unfortunately, they don't always achieve that dream. So they have to walk away on a down note instead of a high note, you know?
And more importantly, the problem is they're hurt. Why do you want to live the rest of your life freaking in pain? These dudes are in pain, man. What good is that? Wouldn't you like to just make, you know, like I said, $7-10 million and chill the rest of your life? Imagine what you could do and not have to wake up in pain and live a great life the rest of your days. Man, just think about what you would do with that money right now.
Yeah, I know. We have different priorities in our lives, so it's hard to imagine. But if you just hung your hat on sports and competitiveness, like your whole adult life, and everybody who ever placed anything on you of value, meaning the way that people look at you and the way that they talk to you and the way that they respect you is all about your performance on the field, you probably would come to understanding that, you know, this is what my life is about and I have to achieve, you know?
I almost feel sorry for him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, dude. Because it's so shallow. People want to win. People want to be around winners. People want to win. and like you become the human embodiment of that for people. Ugh, fuck that.
I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather win at the game of life. Winning at the game of life is having health and having money to begin with. I mean, you could say you want family and all. That's wonderful too, and that's great. But I mean, shit, give me that money right now. You can have every freaking what's that? Those masks we were talking about earlier. You can have every one. You can have a house big enough to have one room dedicated to 80s Halloween masks.
Dude, I don't think it would be as much fun if I was just like completely rich and could just buy anything all the time. Like eventually you just get bored because you would just have everything. It's almost like better to have to work hard and earn something, and it takes time to amass a collection, whereas you just buy something outright. It's like, where's the fun in that? Where's the enjoyment of the journey of collecting something?
I'll give you that. I do enjoy collecting things slowly. Mm-hmm. Yes. I do like that. Like I could have bought every poster I have in my room in one day and then done it. Now I add a little bit, every couple months I get another poster and I frame it and I put it up, and that's my thing. That's all I really collect is the horror posters and movies.
You can collect a memory. You can connect a memory to everything probably in your nerd cave. Like I can look at something, a new Jason figure I got. I go, I remember the convention I was at when I got that, and that was the same day I met Kane Hodder on the first time, or just shit like that. Like whereas you could just buy a bunch of shit on eBay. It's not the same thing to me. I would just have stuff in a box and I wouldn't care about it. By the way, coming back to the movie real quick. This movie kind of shits the bed a little bit for me in these sequences where they go away from the neighborhood with the rednecks in the car and then in the truck, and very irresponsible of Dr. Loomis to essentially instigate a a posse to go kill Michael because he's like, it's all we've got, because all the cops are dead. This is the part of the movie where I'm like a little bit like, now Michael's on top of the fucking car, the car's speeding down the street, it's just kind of meh. This the very meh part of the movie.
I hear you. And the guy, he's in the back throwing people off a truck. and the people in the front of the truck can't even hear the freaking commotion of people rumbling around in the freaking truck bed. 3 grown men. Nobody even notices it. Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo.
Yeah, this is an action sequence, man. It's not a horror movie sequence, Like,
right.
I don't know why I keep trying to say Jason. Michael should never be not just walking around a yard or a house or whatever, a mental hospital or something. He shouldn't be hanging off the back of a truck, doing like action sequences or whatever. He should just be in the neighborhood, shuffling around outside or something, or in the house hiding, or the things he does best,
Right.
I mean, I think that at least they didn't do that in the new one that I can remember.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't do that. That's good.
Yep.
It's definitely like a jump the shark moment for Michael a little bit.
Oh yeah,
but you almost get it past the 80s and everything was excessive and
at this time, yeah. Like I said, 88. By the time 88 rolled around, they were just going through the motions. It wasn't like the early 80s when they were really doing things that mattered, that were exciting. There was a change. There was a change going on in the genre. It was coming. Yeah. The 70s had its great stuff. It had adult horror and the satanic 70s stuff and everything else. But when the early 80s rolled around, the slasher boom hit, and then we started getting all kinds of creative ideas, movies like, Night of the Creeps and Reanimator and just all kinds of stuff. They were booming, man.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're just like I said, they're just spinning their wheels.
It's so funny that some of the better horror movies that have come out recently, and I'm going to include Stranger Things in this, is always connected back to the 80s because it's a fucking winning formula, It's not just because probably a large demographic of the horror fans are in their 40s, but I just think it's just that it's a winning formula. It works. It's fun. I mean, look at American Horror Story, bringing it back to the 80s, It's like you've had what are some of the other good ones that have come out recently that have it's 80s set or whatever? It Follows, and
Well, it makes sense. Nostalgia always goes back 30 years on film, and it's because the people that are making the films grew up in that time period. So remember, when we were watching things in the 80s, a lot of the stuff was going back to the 50s.
Speaking of Night of the Creeps, yeah, absolutely.
There you go. They were flashing back to that, and it's just like look at It, for example. The original It, the miniseries, took it back to that, because it came out in 90. It took it back to those days.
Yeah, The Blob, yeah.
Right.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, they definitely are raping the shit out of the 80s, though, right now. Like, it's just all the rage to bring it back to 80s.
I don't care. As long as you do it right, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, as long as it's not cheap and they do it well, it usually works out. I haven't seen the American Horror Story this season yet, but interested to check it out. I mean, it definitely worked out really great for Stranger Things. This last season was pretty good. Liked it,
Oh yeah, I loved it, and I love what they're doing with it. So, yeah, it's fun. Doesn't bother me, just as long as it's not forced too strongly, where like every 2 minutes somebody's saying, "Oh, it's totally radical," and here's my Rubik's cube, and as they're wearing this and that, where it's like forced. Like every other sentence and
just real obvious, like the true 80s wasn't just a catchphrase and all the most popular things the best of the things that we remember from the 80s. It was a lot of other shit too, it's like every time it's like if you think about the 70s, you immediately think of the Bee Gees, but there was a ton of other shit that happened in the 70s that nobody remembers, and so they tend to just only remember the best of a decade. And, but if you look a little deeper, so like, it was more of a culture than just, Rubik's Cubes and catchphrases. And Frankie says relax and shit like that,
Right. Yeah.
So what do you think of this ending? I always thought it would be really interesting to, that they should have continued Jamie Lloyd's story in a different direction where she becomes like essentially the boogeyman, like Michael's dead, but she takes over. It would be interesting to see like a different take on the story where she just goes out and becomes the killer every Halloween. But instead they institutionalize her and,
Yeah. And then they lamely say she didn't really kill her stepmother. She just attacked her. And
right.
Yeah. I say the same thing. I wish that this movie and Friday the 13th, the final chapter, or even New Beginning for that matter, if they just would have gone that route in the next movie and made them the killer, just to try it.
Yeah.
Be creative. Do it but take your time with it. Don't put it out 1 year later or less. Take your time. That's the problem. Nobody was taking their time. All they wanted to do was, boom, let's get the quick buck. Yeah. Boom, let's go. Let's cast these people. Who cares about the plot? We'll figure it out as we're filming. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate because that's, there you go.
That's the legacy that we have, man. They just fucking retcon shit to make it comfortable for the crowd, to make it easy to write for, and then you just end up with what you get,
Yep.
I mean, I was like completely convinced after Friday the 13th Part 5 that Tommy Jarvis was going to become some homicidal maniac in the next movie or something. Because that was a really shocking end, as, far-fetched as it was, that he had the mask in the dresser or whatever. But, it was a really, intense scene, and the window breaks, all that shit. And then they just go right back to him just being essentially a fucked up guy in a pickup truck, And
yeah, but they wanted to bring Jason back. Same, just like they brought Michael back. That's what happened. They killed Jason, then they decided, but let's bring him back. Well, not yet. Then they did Part 5, and they said, let's try to make more money off the idea of what's going on with Jason. Then, it didn't do so well, and they said, okay, let's bring Jason back. That'll bring people back to the seat, and there you go.
I guess at the end of the day, I mean, everybody just wants to they just want to see Michael, Jason, Freddy do their thing and be happy with it, you know. So they're in a pickle, you know. So I kind of understand why they've got John Carpenter worked on this. I didn't know that. Yeah. But I think he passed away, right? A couple years ago.
Yeah, about a year ago. Yeah. But,
you know, it's a hard formula to come up with and make work, and I kind of give a lot of leeway. I mean, I'm glad Halloween's back. I'm glad they're making more of them. I wish I liked the Halloween 2018 a little bit better. It's not a total abomination or anything like that. But so we'll just have to wait and see what happens, man.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about this movie, dude? It's only an hour and a half.
I love that. Yep.
A nice short, an hour and a half for a slasher.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's how they should be. 90 minutes in and out. Boom.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thanks so much for coming back, hanging out for another movie. Happy Halloween, all you horror fans out there. And I hope you enjoyed our commentary for Halloween 4. And Dave, please promote your podcasts. Tell us about that real quick.
Oh, yeah, real quick. They're all on Horrorphilia, like Josh said earlier. Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast. Watt Zee. Horror. Hold on. Even I can't remember the title of it. The Watt Zee Party Horror Show with me and Watson. And ABC's A Hidden Horror. They're all there. They're all easy to find. They're on iTunes and everywhere else you can find podcasts. So there you have it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Me again. We didn't talk a lot about the movie, but it was a fun conversation regardless.
We dipped in and out of it. You know, I think we just both have seen this movie so many times. And, yeah, it's cool to let the conversation meander. But, dude, you're a busy guy. I know you got a lot going on. And I appreciate you coming back. And maybe I'll have you on again 7 months. 7 months later from now.
I'm okay with that. Absolutely.
We'll see. Maybe every 7 months I'll bother you, you know, come back. But yeah, dude, thanks so much. Always cool to hang out. Have a great dinner with your fam, and I'll talk to you later, dude.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot of great content coming for you this year. We've got reviews for movies, comics, and more. And of course, we will always have fan commentaries for the movies you love. Lots of talk about horror and just mainstream pop culture in general. And probably some Star Wars stuff leading up to Rise of Skywalker. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and yeah, become a fan of the channel. Let's hear what you want to see. Leave a comment below, and just let me know what you think. Alright guys, talk to you later.